This is Valley News Live at noon.
Let's take a look at this video. Roadways covered with snow and it's still coming down. Let's check in with meteorologist Lisa Green.
Yes, we are looking at conditions that are going to be unpleasant out on some of those roadways today because we still have snow falling here in the valley and it's adding up on some of those road surfaces, leading to some slick spots. This is our live view on our First Alert Sky Cam in Fargo at this station. We're looking down on the interchange between University and I-94. And I just want to point out University there, where you're seeing the lanes of traffic showing some tire tracks on that intersection. We are seeing that bringing us a little bit of slick spots on those roadways here. Taking a look at our road conditions right now, we are seeing a lot of purple on the map, where you see some areas where we're talking about snowy roads, and that includes the Fargo-Moorhead area right here. Here's Fargo, and anywhere in purple means some snow on the roads. And then up by Grand Forks, yellow indicates ice. And then there's a bunch of purple on the map here in eastern North Dakota, indicating more places that are dealing with the snow. We lost our radar for a while this morning, which was concerning given this event, but we do have it back. And we're looking at radar indicating that snow just now departing the Grand Forks area. It's dropping south-southeast. So Fargo still has a ways to go. We have about an inch of snow on the ground in Fargo-Moorhead from this event. And as we zoom in a little bit more, you can see Cass County being more affected at the moment by steady snow. Over to the east in Clay County, we're looking at some areas of lighter snow at the moment. Visibility is also down with this right now. So when I come back, we're going to talk about when this will end for you and when conditions will improve.
We'll make sure to stay tuned with you because you probably saw the video I just saw, Lisa, and that was some pretty extreme driving in these temperatures and this weather, so we want to be extra cautious. And again, we'll see you a little bit later so we can hear more about it. Thank you, Lisa. Well, one man is dead after another has severe injuries after a head-on crash in northern Minnesota. The State Patrol says 38-year-old man from Keewatin, Minnesota, crossed the center line on Highway 169 in Itasca County yesterday afternoon and hit a pickup. The driver of the pickup was killed. He was a 69-year-old man from Heming. The driver who hit him has life-threatening injuries. Troopers say impaired driving is suspected as the cause of the deadly crash. Additional security was in place and ready for protesters at the Minnesota State Capitol. An estimated 150 people were expected to attend. Security was increased even after state troopers said there was no credible threats to the Capitol. The FBI is monitoring potential threats to state capitals nationwide ahead of this week's inauguration of Joe Biden in Washington, D.C. The small group of protesters in St. Paul yesterday left the area by about 1:30 in the afternoon, and no arrests were made. North Dakota is sending additional National Guard soldiers to the presidential inauguration in D.C. About 130 soldiers from the 816th Military Police Company will join 20 North Dakota Guard members already at the U.S. Capitol. Law enforcement officials insist they won't be caught flag-footed, and the FBI has warned of armed protests and potential attacks in the nation's capital. Just imagine what a daunting task it was to plan this inaugural. Even before the uprising, they had to figure out how to adjust for a global pandemic while maintaining all the dignity and traditions the American people know so well. So what would it look like? We asked the man in charge of bringing it all together.
So are they done doing the plotting, or do they still have?
Maju Varghese is the executive director of the Presidential Inaugural Committee. It's his job to plan the most complicated inaugural ceremony ever.
Are you getting any sleep at this point?
I'm getting a couple hours a night. A good friend of mine checked in on me the other day, and he said the signs were showing.
Varghese is no stranger to big events. He was the COO of the Biden campaign, which had to reimagine the Democratic National Convention and the election night celebration to keep them COVID safe.
What were the elements of an inauguration that were most important to you to preserve?
So what we wanted to do was preserve the images that people are used to when it comes to seeing a peaceful transfer of power. We wanted President-elect Biden to take the oath on the West Front, and we wanted to give people a sense that, you know, we are still, even in tough times, we're a resilient country.
I, Barack Hussein Obama.
After all, presidents have been getting sworn in on the West Front of the Capitol for the past 40 years, with one key difference.
Yeah, generally, that platform would be packed, like people shoulder to shoulder, maybe up to 1,000 people up there.
On Wednesday, to maintain social distancing, it'll be closer to 200. And the National Mall will be completely blocked off to the public, though that doesn't mean it'll be empty.
Well, what you'll see on the mall, is going to be a sea of flags. 2009, I was here for President Obama's first inauguration. I was looking this way, down toward the monument on a bright day, and seeing people wave their flags in the light. We wanted to capture some of that spirit.
And so this weekend, workers began installing nearly 200,000 American flags and state and territory flags.
All of it to show the American people that we're thinking about them in this time.
We spoke amid what felt like an armed encampment. It was just 12 days ago that thousands of rioters swarmed the very spot where President-elect Biden will be sworn in.
We just had to add more security.
Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar sits on the congressional committee that oversees inaugural events.
Did you ever consider bringing the entire inauguration inside and abandoning the West Front?
We thought, should we do it on another side? Should we do it inside? And time again, we came back to the point that no, this is where the inauguration traditionally has been held, not when you go way back, but traditionally. And we want to continue that tradition.
Nancy Cordes, CBS News, Washington.
The controversial Keystone XL pipeline could be in jeopardy under the Biden administration. The Canadian broadcasting company is reporting the U.S. president-elect has indicated plans to cancel permits via executive action on his first day in office. A fortunate briefing note from the Biden transition team mentioning the plan was widely circulated over the weekend after being shared by the incoming president's team with U.S. stakeholders. Well, Fargo Public School students are heading back to their classrooms tomorrow. Now, this includes students in elementary, middle, and high school. The district's Instructional Planning Committee meets again on February 8th to review the COVID-19 situation and discuss the status of a vaccination plan for staff. Parler appears to be back online in a very limited form. That tops our look at consumer news. The social media network that was kicked offline last week is now back with a brief message from the company's CEO. John Matsey posted, "Hello world, is this thing on?" The message then goes on, addressed to both lovers and haters, with a pledge to return. Parler became a favorite of the far right after other social media platforms cracked down on threats of violence in the wake of the insurrection on the U.S. Capitol earlier this month. Amazon Web Services pulled the plug on Parler after it failed to comply with Amazon's demand for more moderation. Well, the IRS is delaying the start of the 2020 tax filing season. The IRS says it needs more time to prepare after the COVID Relief Act that took effect in late December. The agency says it will begin processing last year's tax returns on February 12th. The IRS is recommending that taxpayers submit their returns electronically and use direct deposit. Normally, the turnaround time for a refund is about 21 days if a tax return has no problems. Despite the late start, the deadline for filing remains April 15th. Right now, the National Civil Rights Museum is holding a virtual MLK Day celebration. The King Day event will showcase Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s work, the history of how the national holiday came to be, and how the museum has celebrated the holiday in years past. The celebration will also feature musical performances and expressions from museum volunteers. Make sure you tune in today at 4. We have all the local events in there as well. Well, coming up at noon, we take a look at some new technology that's tailored to work during the pandemic. And look at your sky cam. The snow is just really coming down. Roadways are covered. Weather up next to Plan Your Day with meteorologist Lisa Green.